How many different places, James, have you used the Windsor and Sandringham on? Has it been, you've dug out a number of people's lakes?
Oh, I haven't actually totted it up, but it must be sort of 50 or 60, I know, I suppose.
Yes.
Some of them, which of course are a lot smaller than this. I mean, only, say half an acre.
Right.
But half an acre up to 17 acres so far.
Yes.
We've been having a struggle with one over at Stranraer at the moment, but that's 17 acres. Which
That's
is quite
very
a big
big.
lake, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, up until then, this was the biggest one we'd done. The previous biggest was down at Ditching Hall, which was 7.5 acres.
Yes. And is it a very wide lake, the 17-acre one? Or
Yes, the engines we've been 650 yards apart.
650 yards apart?
Yeah. Yes.
And how far are we apart here? Not so much, really.
Well, this lake's about 350 long, isn't it?
Yeah.
300?
Must be about 300.
Yeah, I think it's 300 yards long, this one. And then when we did this job, the other engine was up on the road, which is another 150 yards away. So we were 450 yards apart here.
Yes.
It's just
quite long. It's a long haul.
Because you've got to be the other side of the lagoon, approximately.
Yes.
So you've got to have the engine that's doing the pulling out. It's got to be the other side of where you're depositing the mud.
Yes.
So, which normally amounts to being at least 100 yards away from the lake.
Yes.
No, I think it was an effective method for this job, because you can't really get round the sides. Well, A, there's not the space, and B, there's a lot of overhanging trees. And it'd be a shame to have to demolish those in order to do the job.
Yes, the trees do get in the way, but yeah, and it's I think the way we did it by building the bund at the bottom and a little one at the top end here.
Yeah.
It worked very well.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the main advantages of the method is that, other than for tidying up, and you don't really need access of any heavy machinery down two sides of the lake, and in this case, really three sides, because you only had to have the width of the scoop down at the bottom, which is, say, 10, 12 feet.
Yes.
All right, you make an enormous mess where that is, but you don't have to make any mess anywhere else.
Yes.
And it is an advantageous method onto some jobs. I mean, cleaning out lakes is very much horses for courses with various methods, and some work in some places and some in others.
Yes.
I mean, the suction dredging boys would have got into trouble here because of the amount of actual trees that were growing in it. They would have been able to do the area where there weren't trees, but they would have got into trouble where it was solid sand and tree roots.
There was a lot of solid sand in here.
Yeah, yeah.
And most of that came down in the 1963 flood, I think it was.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It wasn't too bad up till that point, but after 1963 it really got very shallow out in the lake. And a lot of sand came down then. And 1948 as well, of course, that was a bad one. But it put the icing on the 1963 flood, and then everything started to grow away.
Well, it's very much like an iceberg. You can only really see it when it's got very shallow in one place.
Yes.
By the time you can see it, it's getting very shallow nearly everywhere.
Yes.
Because its angle of retention it was from about foot above full lake level to about 2 foot below.
Yes.
In the whole length of the lake, which is about 300 yards. So it's a very shallow angle.
Yes.
Particularly with sand, which it drops out quite quickly. Well, I hope it lasts a long, long time.
Well, I'm sure it will, James, and thank you very much for doing it. It was a great exercise.
It was a very enjoyable job. In fact, if it was silted up again, we'd come back and do it again. Perhaps that's not the idea.
Call on your services in another 120 years.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, the engines might still be about, but I'm fairly certain neither of us will be.
I think that's right.